it's Null here. Now I will apologize for the crappy lighting and being not around at all, but you know what? That would take time, and I'm tired of making excuses and not getting things done. Things will change. We'll get to that at some point, but now I am just here to bring you the wrap-up of challenges that I did in April before April is over, because that seems to be an issue with me. Now, each month I set personal reading goals for myself, and that is that I have to read a nonfiction book, a classic book, a play, and a reread. So for April, my nonfiction, I did a couple. I did Plant Spirit Medicine, Monk of Mocha, Gone. My classics were The Epic of Gilgamesh and The Wizard of Oz. The play I read M. Butterfly. The reread, I did a few because of other challenges. I did the first two books of the Curses, War of Lost Souls trilogy. I reread another of the Roswell books, and I reread an old manga. I'll get all to that later. The year actually has a year-long rereading challenge, and the theme for this month was to read a book set in a different time or culture. And so for this were the first two books in the Dragonlance War of Souls series, the Dragons of a Fallen Sun and Dragons of a Lost Star. Steve Donahue also does a monthly read-along series, and that month we covered Phineas Redux. I'm butchering words, forgive me. I'm just trying to speak through this. And then there's also it's a little over a year long. There's a read-along for the Wheel of Time series, and so this month was The Great Hunt. Now, you might also be wondering why I'm wearing something fuzzy and all that jazz, and that's because this is PJ's with the Waiting for My Owls owl letter from Hogwarts. PJ's, my mischief solemnly swear we are up to no good shirt is in the wash, so this is going to have to suffice. Now, why? Because this was also the month of the Owls Challenge. Now, for those unfamiliar with the Harry Potter universe, in this magical world, their students are subjected to two series of standardized testing, the first of which is the Owls exams, which will kind of shape how you go on in your academic career from that. The next series kind of is tailored to what your career will be. However, the awesome creator of this reading challenge really went all out and set a series of challenges based on the classes that you can take tests for, but usually, while this will determine if you can set for challenges in a later series, which she also does the newts, she has made corresponding careers to the Owl Challenges, which is awesome. But for me, I'm an overachiever. I just tried to do all the classes I could so that I could qualify for any of the challenges for the next installment, assuming she's willing to continue. So the first of these was Ancient Runes, which was to read a retelling, and for that I did Beast. For Arithmancy, that was a work written by more than one author, and for that I did Dragons of a Fallen Sun, which is the first of the War of Souls books. Astronomy was Star in the title, so I did the sequel to that, which was Dragons of a Lost Star, which is one of my favorite books of all time. Maybe when I'm finished with the trilogy, I might do an overview of that. Care of Magical Creatures was a land animal on the cover, and for that I did Brown Wolf, which was actually a series of short stories by Jack London. For Charms was an adult work, and I read Gone, and it has a longer title. I can't remember right now, but it's about a woman in her relationship with music and her violin. Defense Against the Dark Arts was a title that starts with R, and for that I read, which was a play, which could also qualify for my play of the year, but I wasn't thinking of it when I set that out. Divination is a book set in the future, and for that I did The Marrow Thieves, which was also something I should elaborate on, but I don't want to have to split this up. Herbology was a plant on the cover, and for that I did Plant Science Medicine. History of Magic was to read a book that was written 10 years ago, and I hope The Epic of Gilgamesh counts, considering that is one of the oldest tales ever told. Muggle Studies was to read a contemporary, and for that I did a little short novella thing called Alpha and His Ace. Potions was a sequel, and that I leached off Steve's read and did Phineas Renew. Transfiguration was to read a book with either sprayed edges or a red cover. Now, I really wanted to use red, but I figured that might be a little too cheeky, and so I did the Monk of Mocha. Now, moving on to the other challenges in the month, there was also Prideathon, which was run from April 14th to 20th. And the first challenge for this was to reread a queer book, And for that, I reread a very old manga called Fake, which did not really stand the test of time, but that's a rant for another day. A book I didn't buy, I read Beast, which was from one of my libraries, which was a great access to have. A book that represents your identity, and I don't really talk about this a lot because it's not really important and it doesn't factor, but I identify as Ace, and so that was Alpha and his Ace. A book that's been on my TBR for a while. I did not make this for the group read-along week, but I did it the week after, which was The Other Lands, which was really great. The next was a protagonist that's different from you, and for that I did someone who is trans, maybe gender questioning. It's really complicated, and for that I did the first volume of a manga series called Wandering Sun, which I really need to finish and needs more attention, both that and the anime, although I was a little iffy on the anime. But I was happy to start that after a while. And then last was to read any queer book, and for that I did the first of the Spencer Cohen series. I think that's how you say his last name. And also And Butterfly could have counted for that because I read that in this time period as well. The last challenge of the month ran from the 15th to the 28th. There is another one, but that ran more into this month, and so I'll cover that on this month's. And that was the Audiobook Athan. Now, the first challenge was to listen to an audiobook for 30 minutes a day, and I actually count this as a huge victory because usually Fridays I don't get to listen to anything at all. Audiobooks are listened to at night, and nights on Fridays are family time, which consists of me catching up with my mother. So that did actually happen. I made that work by the skin of my teeth. The second challenge was to read an audiobook with a full cast, and that was actually the Brown Wolf and Other Stories short collection series, and that had a great ensemble cast. The third was to listen to a book outside your comfort zone, and for that I did Plant Spirit Medicine, and that was Gritting Teeth. It also covered my nonfiction, thank goodness, which was originally what it was aimed for, but hey, it works. Now, listen to a favorite book was the fourth challenge, and that was Lost Star. As I mentioned, it's one of my favorite books, even if it may not be a great work of literary masterpiece-ness. But I've been wanting, ever since I heard this had an audiobook version, I was ecstatic to go revisit it. It's one of the few books, let me put it this way, that while I listen to books now, it is one of the few books that I have physically reread, I think, 3 times before this. Listen to a book you put down as number 5. Now, this is getting harder for me, challenges like this, because I don't DNF a lot of books, but I remembered that there was a book I bought for someone else, and I read the first chapter of before I sent it to them, and so I revisited Uglies, and I know that might even be the title of the series, but it's the first in a young adult series. Listen to a book with a mixed media was the next one, and that was Red, which was a play, but it was done by LA Theater Works, so it also had all the sound effects. It had the music included that's mentioned, so that was interesting. And the last challenge of this readathon and my challenges of the month was to listen to a book that was 15 or more hours long, and that was In Other Lands. Thank goodness this overlapped with Prideathon. I can't remember that clocked in. I think it was around 17. So thank you for tolerating all this rambling. I know this is really off cuff and there are a ton of speaking errors, but I want to get something finished for once and posted, and hopefully I will come at you with better quality and be more consistent. But this is a first step of trying to get back on the horse, and I still exist. Hopefully this will be a better run than otherwise it has been, and if so, if I can, be consistent with a few more videos, I will try to be a better quality YouTuber. Until then, I hope you have a wonderful day, evening thing, and toodles. Bye-bye.